Hello, and welcome to a special edition of The Full Story. I'm here to talk about an issue that threatens our very democracy today. Now, before anybody goes any further, let me tell you that I am not a racist, I am not xenophobic, I am not filled with hatred. Now, I know a lot of the times when those are the first words out of people's mouths, it's just the opposite. But let me also say this. I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump. I'm not in the Trump camp, okay? I'm against his immigration policy. I'm especially against banning all Muslims. I do not agree with a lot of what Donald Trump says. However, the protests and the violence that are occurring during Trump rallies are a threat to the First Amendment and to our very democracy. They are not, and they do not fall on the shoulders of Donald Trump. These people that call themselves protesters are not protesting. They are violent, disruptive, threatening, and intimidating. They are denying Donald Trump and his supporters their First Amendment rights. They are denying people in America the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly. More than that, they are interfering with the democratic process itself in a free election. A free and fair election. All you have to do is look at the news footage. These, quote, protesters, first of all, are from organized groups. These aren't individuals that just said, hey, let's protest. There are powers that be behind these people. Protesting is holding up a sign saying, I'm against, yelling, supporting, not supporting. That's what protesting is. Protesting isn't going into a place and disrupting an event and stopping people from assembling. Protesting isn't jumping on stage. Protesting isn't yelling down speakers, causing them not to be able to speak and get their message across. That's not protest. That is wrong. That is a violation of someone else's freedom and liberty in the United States of America. I don't care how xenophobic you are. I don't care how hateful or how racist you are. You still have the right to 1. Express your views. 2. To freely assemble and to have those views. There's an old saying, I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. That's democracy. Like it or not, America. When people are instigating at these rallies, jumping on stages, cursing, yelling, screaming, disrupting the events, blocking people from getting into them, causing disruptions to the speakers. That's not protest anymore. That's not freedom. That is anarchy. That is causing a disruption. That's disorderly conduct. That's a violation of everybody that attends a Donald Trump rally's freedoms. That's a violation of Donald Trump's freedom as an American to speak, to have supporters, to freely assemble. You can protest all you want. You can speak against the man all you want. Write letters. You can hold signs. You can picket outside. But when you cross that line, when you start blocking people's access to events, shutting events down, jumping on stages, cursing, yelling, screaming, preventing speakers from speaking, you have committed a criminal act. You are a criminal. You are a rioter. And you are interfering with the process of the federal elections. This is a democratic election, and every American is guaranteed the right to freely assemble and the right to freedom of speech. You claim to be supporting people's rights and protesting? You ain't protesting shit! You're disrupting. You are committing crimes. You are denying other people their very freedoms and constitutional rights. Worse, these people coming to the Trump events, they're being threatened, cursed at, yelled at. People that aren't even necessarily Trump supporters that just heard the man speak. They're being threatened with violence and intimidation. You can't do that in a federal election. You cannot do that. You are interfering with the free and democratic process. Now, I don't know what country you think you live in, but just because somebody disagrees with you does not give you the right to shut them down, does not give you the right to say they shall not speak, they shall not assemble, they shall not gather. You're the fascist, not Donald Trump. You're the one that belongs in Hitler's camp, not Donald Trump if you're doing that crap. Freedom is very important, and it's equally important to safeguard the rights of everyone's freedom, even the ignorant people, even the racist people, even the ones that propose crazy things. Donald Trump is a legitimate front-running presidential candidate when you are stopping and interfering with the election process. What are we going to become, Russia now or China? You cannot interfere with the election process, and the threats and intimidations against anybody that says they're voting for Trump, ripping off his stickers, yelling insults at them, cursing at them, threatening violence. There are children and families at these rallies. You're sick. You're sick and you're violent and you're disgusting and you're not a protester. You're a criminal. I call on the federal government to implement whatever security measures necessary to guarantee free and fair elections in the United States of America. If it means calling in the United States military at ballot boxes, that's where we're going with this. If they're doing this at rallies, what's going to happen on election day? The people that are coming to support Trump. This is voter intimidation. This is interfering with our very democratic election process. When you have to be afraid to attend a rally of Donald Trump or any presidential candidate because you're being threatened and you're being called racist and xenophobic and people are yelling and cursing at you and threatening violence and blocking your way, that's not a democratic election anymore. That's run by thugs. And that's what these people are. They're thugs. This is no different than when the Occupy movement tried to shut down the parks and other families couldn't use them because they were occupying them. This is no different than the Black Lives Matter people when they form human walls and they barricade restaurants and go in and stop people from eating dinner or stop people from shopping or shut down highways. You don't have that right. You do not have that right. You don't have that right to interfere with another human being and another free-thinking American citizen's rights. You do not have the right to stop somebody from eating at a restaurant, to shut down a highway and a bridge, to keep somebody from going to work, to shut down a shopping mall, to stop people from attending a presidential rally. You do not have that right to stop people from speaking just because they disagree with you. That's un-American, that's undemocratic, and that's evil, and that's as fascist as the Donald Trump that you disagree with. This has to be stopped, and this has to be stopped now. These people are criminals. It's not Donald Trump that's causing this. It's violent, intimidating people. Just watch the news footage. Watch what they're saying. They're yelling. They're cursing. They're screaming. They're blocking people. They're threatening family members. That's wrong. And it's a federal election. What's going to happen at the ballot box? Like I said, are we going to need to call in the military to secure voting places now? Because anybody voting for Trump is going to be threatened and intimidated? That's where this is going. This has to be stopped now. Make no mistake. Those aren't protesters. Those are violent criminals with an agenda, regardless of what you feel about Donald Trump. That's the full story. Trump's not causing this. Trump's not instigating this, despite what the media is telling you. These are criminals doing this who don't believe that anybody that disagrees with them should have the same rights that they do. If you disagree with these people, they believe you shouldn't be able to speak. You shouldn't be able to assemble. So they shut you down with violence and intimidation and threats. That's wrong. And that's the full story of what's going on. Thanks for listening.